This is Jonathan Aguilar Fifth, Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Napa from Nova Sport, or Elliott, whatever you prefer.
Whatever you prefer, my bro.
We'll go with Napa because that's what I and everyone know you as. Obviously, manager to lots of people: Derrick Osaze, Brandon Glanton, Chris Eubank Jr. So a lot of fighters. Let's start with Derrick, who's got a big fight this Friday against George Liddard. I mean, some people are billing this as kind of like, matchmaking, seeing as he lost to Denzel and now being put in with a top prospect like George, but you obviously don't see it that way, so talk to us about the fight.
Obviously, I believe they took the fight because of the result in the Denzel Bentley fight, so they're probably thinking, it's a good time to get a name like Osaze on the record. Me personally, if I was looking after Liddard, I wouldn't take this fight right now. I think it's too early. I think Derrick's too strong, too experienced for a 22-year-old prospect, but let's see. That's what's going to make it exciting, right? Derrick didn't have the best of fights against Denzel. He didn't get to show what he can do. He got caught. Loads of fighters have been caught before, and he's ready to fix that wrong.
Obviously, like I say, Brandon Glanton's landed a huge fight against Chris Billam-Smith on the Ben Eubank card, or Eubank Ben, you'd probably prefer it pronounced as. Talk to us about Brandon, because I've spoken to him, but I guess the world's going to see him in action on April 26th.
Finally, I've had to take him France to win the WBO International, had to take him Russia to win the WBA International, and I take this guy on the road and he goes on the B-side, on the road, and knocks people out. He's the most vicious, spiteful cruiserweight in the world, and you're going to see why I'm saying this in April. He's a bad man.
Obviously, as well, Conor Coyle is fighting in a couple of weeks. Tell us about him.
Conor Coyle, number 4 now in the WBA, number 3. They keep moving him around. Big card, big opportunity to fight in Keishon Davis undercard in New York against Vito Milenecki. I might be saying his name wrong. If I am, no disrespect. But it's a fight I believe he will win. He's coming up from light middleweight, so Conor's his first middleweight he's come up against. And we win this fight, we should move up a bit more in the WBA. We'll get a high WBO ranking as well, which Conor hasn't got, which that'll be good. And Conor harasses me. He wants a shot against Erislandy Lara, so we win. We'll continue with Top Rank, and hopefully with Top Rank behind him, they'll help get those opportunities for him. Plus they got Janibek as well, so it's all good.
Before we talk about Eubank, tell us about anyone else you're working with, because I know you've got a lot of fighters.
Rene Teles-Giron, a little Mexican pitbull who just fought Floyd Schofield. He's going to fight Rocky Hernandez on the 28th of March on the Matchroom card in Mexico. Oaxaca, I think it's pronounced Oaxaca. That's going to be a serious fight. Rocky Hernandez is a big puncher, got loads of knockouts. Same as Rene. They're both in their mid-20s. They're both angry, ferocious fighters. But I think Rene will just do him, because I think Rene's got a better chin and punches just as hard, but got a bigger heart.
Moving on to obviously Chris, everyone's talking about the fight. You finally got it over the line. Just in terms of getting the fight done, how much of a process was it? How much relief is it for you now that it is signed? And what was it like?
It was hard work until Turkey got involved. So if it wasn't for His Excellency, I don't think there'll be Eubank Ben fight. I think we were stuck on the terms we wanted. They were stuck on what they wanted. Turkey come and help fix everything. So you have to thank him for that. And he's doing amazing things for boxing. Got the fans, the fight they wanted to see. And Chris is going to put on a hell of a show that night. You see.
How close were you to the Lara fight? Because at one point it was like you guys are down looking at Lara, they were looking at Barrios. So was it close to this just completely falling apart?
Yeah, when we weren't getting anywhere, Chris was just like, just get me Lara, get it done. So obviously we were moving slow, but he was like pushing us, like get it done. So we were hopeful this would eventually come through, and it did. But Lara was like verbally we agreed to pretty much everything, but in the end we chose this.
Obviously, the main talking point has been about this rehydration clause, which Ben Shalom said he wasn't really happy with the way it was kind of last minute put in. We spoke to Eddie Hearn earlier, and he said, "Well, Eubank fights at 160, and he's not having to really." Go up so much and things like that. What do you make of all this talk?
Well, Eddie don't know what Eubank weighs on the second day, to be honest with you. He's never been there when Chris is weighing in himself. And they're making this fight on the second day 170 because they want Conor Benn to have a chance. Without it, Chris will rock him up. Chris will finish him. So Eddie Hearn is good at his job. He protects his fighters, so he thought he needs to do something here so where Conor has a bit of a chance, and that will be to tell Eubank, you're not allowed to be more than 10 pounds on the second day, which is even less than the IBF rules. So the IBF, you can be 172. Yeah. So this is no organisation does this. So obviously it's a tactic of them to try and get that little small advantage on the next day, but. Listen, Chris agreed to it. For me, I found it weird because the way Conor Benn was gunning for this fight, you'd think it'd be like how Kell Brook was when he fought Golovkin, just go up to middleweight and fight at middleweight, right? Like when Michael Garcia went up 2 divisions to fight Errol Spence, they were looking for them fights, but they're not saying, rehydration and the rest of it. When Canelo fought Bivol, he just fought Bivol at Bivol's weight. He didn't say nothing about no rehydration. And what Conor Benn's persona, you'd presume he's the same type of guy. Like you want to fight middleweight, you want to come all the way to Saudi Arabia when you had no business there to come and bump into Chris and be like, I want to fight you and push him and the rest of it. But it's like you want to be all angry and stuff. But I want to fight you, but you're not allowed to be more than. I'm like, come on, just fight the guy. Get it scrapped. You guys are putting penalties on Chris if he's over the weight and the rest of it. If you're really, really so confident, let's scrap it.
I don't know if you can talk about these penalties, but is there anything you can tell us about what happens if he's more than 170?
I can't say much because it's not my name or your name on the contract. But yeah, he can't be more than 170 on the second day, and he'll abide by it.
Have you got any concerns about that, or are you confident that Chris will rehydrate properly and he'll be fine on the night?
No, it just gives them hope, because without it, they wouldn't do it. Eddie Hearn knows what will happen without it. That's why he put it in there, and Eddie's good at his job. Otherwise, he won't get to where he's got to. He won't be where he's at if he's not. He's smart. He negotiates good deals for fighters. Maybe he should have done this for Kell Brook in the past. Maybe there might have been a better chance for Kell Brook in the Golovkin fight. Over time, you get better at your job, and you learn, and the rest of it. So, well done.
We also, one of the reporters said earlier about the Canelo Crawford situation, and Bomax basically saying, look, we're not interested in a rehydration clause, and Eddie was like, well, they don't really have a choice because otherwise the fight wouldn't happen. But what do you make of what Bomax said about, well, that's some, I think the words were pussy or some rubbish like that, or, we don't believe in that, we're just going to fight like men?
I agree. This is my whole point. You see a fighter, you get up in his face, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then you agree to fight, and then you're saying, but I don't want you to be over. Like, no, it just shows you that Crawford's a different type of man to Conor. And if that's not the case, forget about it. They won't. They want to keep that in there because they want to give him a small chance and the rest of it. So I'm in 100% in agreement with Bomac, 100%. And I said it, look, Kell Brook didn't ask for it. I mean, that's why you got to rate Kell Brook. He had the balls. He was 147 champion. And Conor Benn is even 154. It's not even 147. He ain't fought at 147 for approaching 3 years. So you're coming up one weight class. Kell Brook went up 2 weight classes, like legit, like from one fight to the next, and had no rehydration. I rate that. It's not the same thing here.
Well, the fight is done, April 26th. Just I know it's early to say, but your prediction on how it's going to play out?
Chris, inside the distance. I'm not going to predict a round because I've been around Chris since he was 5-0, and it all depends on his mood in the change room. I've been there when he's been told to go out there and use your jab and the rest of it, and he's just gone out there and just tried to take someone's head off straight away, and vice versa. So it all depends on his mood on the night. But I have a feeling that those fans, the stadium and the rest of it, it might bring out a version of Chris that we all love.
Do you know who's going to train him for this fight, or are you going to leave it to him to sort of announce that?
Jonathan Banks.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll use Banks again. It went well for the last fight, and we'll run it again.
Brilliant. Napa, appreciate your time. Just tell everyone where they can follow you and see what you're up to.
Nova Sport for our Nova Sport page, and my page Napa Fitness on Instagram.
There you go. Napa, appreciate your time.